The zoom's pretty good on this camera. That's all the way on the other side of that river there. And here I am on this bank here. Hello, kindred. Let me see if I'm in focus. Longevity Lifestyle Designers. This is Zach here with secretsoflongevity.com. We're going to be looking at some dandelion today. Dandelion leaves. Not the ideal time to harvest them, but they're usable all through the summer and spring, obviously. The best time is right when they come up in the spring. I was using them then, but didn't make a video about it then, and I had some people asking me to make a video about dandelion leaves, so I figured I might as well and share with you guys the information I'm aware of in regards to it and how to identify it. There's a lot of different species of dandelion. Not a ton, but there's several, so they might look slightly different in your area. There's actually a few varieties in my area, so I'll show just a few variations of it. And always check with a local expert or do some really good research online about the plants in your area to make sure you have the right plant that you're selecting. It's easy to watch a video, but then when you go out in the wild or in a park, as I'm in a park here in the middle of my city, and try to identify something, and you don't quite have the image in your mind from the video unless you have perhaps an iPhone or iPod where you can watch it and identify it right there. And there's actually some great apps out these days for iPhone and Androids to help you identify while you're out and about, which if I had a phone like that, I'd definitely get it. It's very handy. I just rely on books and information online and other people I've learned from. So it's really up to you as to how much of a risk you take. But of course I have to give the disclaimer that you should never consume anything from the wild unless you are 100% sure of what it is and that you know it's safe. Dandelion, like I was saying, is very common, very easy to identify once you know its characteristics. And it's good to have once in a while as a food. Added salads, sort of sauteed or stir-fried into dishes. Juiced, it's very good. It's very strong, very bitter, obviously, as most wild plants, wild greens are. So you don't want to be doing it daily for long stretches of time and not in very large quantities unless under the guidance of someone that can really read your metabolism and the signs in your body as to what you're needing if you're taking herbs. So working with a Chinese doctor or an herbalist who's skilled at that is the way to go because there are applications where you would want to take it daily in a larger volume for 2, 3, 4 weeks constantly, and that is generally going to be something that would probably be in combination with other herbs. So I'm going to talk a bit about dandelion right now. I'm also going to go over to some just to show it to you. So I'm just at a park here. There's a little path, and obviously the side of it's been mowed, but right on the edge of that they've left the grass from here on out, and there's obviously a ton of weeds and things, and it becomes bush that leads down to the river. A lot of cool trees. There's actually a mulberry tree I love that's just down that path there. And yeah, generally dandelion is going to be found near disturbed areas that are inhabited by people. And because this is right along where people are walking their dogs, I'm not going to actually harvest any for my own consumption here, but because there's so much of it, I'm just going to use it here to demonstrate what it looks like. There's one here. Dandelion means tooth of lion in French. And as you can see here, it's got a serrated edge. I'm not sure of this variety, but that is what one of them looks like. This is another one here. I'll actually just pick it out instead of trying to root through the grass. And as you see here, the leaves generally get to be about this big. Sometimes you find very big ones, sometimes they're smaller. Serrated edge, very much a typical leaf pattern inside of the grain here. If you do a close-up on the leaf pattern here, you can see that it's not a specific pattern in terms of where the main veins come off the central stem. It looks like it's alternating, but here they come off at the same spot, so there's no specific pattern there. If we look at the back, it's the same thing. and it doesn't have an overly glossy look to it. It's pretty plain. The back isn't particularly shiny or silver as some leaves tend to be. And if I were to nibble it, I said I wasn't going to eat this, but I'm just going to try this one. Hopefully the dog didn't piss on it. It has that bitter taste. It's similar to arugula, I guess I could say. So what dandelion isn't is it's not prickly at the edges. There is something that looks somewhat similar, which would be wild lettuce, which I believe there's some back here. I don't know if that's wild lettuce or not, but that has a much more smooth feel to it, almost like Swiss chard. And it would be, I could see someone confusing that with dandelion. Probably one of the easiest ways to identify dandelion in the spring is when the dandelion flowers are up and they're yellow, or eventually they turn to those puff balls. This one we can see here is empty of those puff balls, so that's the flower head that has shed all its seeds. If it still has the stem, it's got a reddish tinge to it. Same with the dandelion stem, at least on this variety, has that reddish tinge along the, I guess you could say, the spine or the stem that runs up the middle of the leaf. This one you can see here is much thinner and much more jagged, so it was different from the one we were looking at previously. And if you're in an area where you can actually get down to the base, the leaves all fan out from a central point. And if you were to harvest the root, you just simply go to the side of that and dig a knife in there and dig around it, and then you can pull out the whole root. Here's some more of it. So I'm deeper in the little foresty area here. A lot of shade. And there's some great specimens of dandelions here. It's a big patch. It's actually several plants in one. And if I were to dig the root out, there'd probably be several big tap roots. Right here, it's just kind of a big knot of the leaves. So as you can see, it's the typical serrated edge again, Dandelion. And if you were to be harvesting some, you typically want to go for the, or at least I like to go for the leaves that are whole and not sort of ravaged by insects or something. And also the most green looking, because some of the older ones, sometimes like this one here, I wouldn't harvest. Although it's bigger, it's got, you can see something's been eating it. It's, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's just a little dirtier and scuzzier looking. It's got black spots in some spots around the leaves here. Let's see if I can show you that. It's just like picking food out at a store, really. You want to go for the nicest looking one. It's not, doesn't always mean that it's better, but that's just my preference. And also, I never over harvest, so I wouldn't just rip up this whole plant unless I was actually going for the root. And if I was trying to harvest dandelion roots, I wouldn't clear a whole area where there's dandelions and take all the roots. Although with dandelion, it's such a common weed, it's not quite as important to be that careful with it, just because it grows so prevalently. But if you want to sort of come back to that same area time and time again, maybe it's your front lawn, you probably want to leave some so that you can come back next year. So yeah, I'd probably take 2 or 3 leaves per plant if it's a big plant like this. Let's see if this one's alright. There's a nice healthy looking big one back there, which I'll take near the base. And I always carry Ziploc bags with me. I've been collecting a few mulberries from some trees in the area. And that way I've always got a place to put wild edibles that I find along my walks and things. So I found something that looks like dandelion, but I'm not sure if it is or not, so I'm not going to harvest it. Could be related to the dandelion. Similar toothed look, but the teeth have teeth. It's much more jagged. It doesn't have the reddish tinge that runs up the middle there. But I bet it's edible. I mean, I am not going to try it just because I'm not certain, and I'm not familiar enough with plants in the areas to know what it is. It could just be wild lettuce or something else, although wild lettuce is usually a little pricklier. But that's just an example that, you know, if there's something that you can't identify but it looks similar, don't go for it unless you're absolutely certain what it is. So I actually shot the previous footage in this video a week ago. My hard drive, and at least I thought it was my hard drive at first, it ended up being my operating system, got corrupted somehow, probably due to the high amount of heat that we're experiencing now in beginning of July. It's the hottest time of year pretty much in southern Ontario. And yeah, so I've had the computer in the shop and I got that back, so I wanted to finish up this video and give you guys a few more pointers and things to think about in regards to dandelion. So you can use any part of the dandelion. The whole plant is edible. The root is great for harvesting, ideally in the spring or fall. Even fall is probably even the best time because everything's dying back and sort of the energy and nutrients are coming back into the roots in preparation for the winter. And you can take those, clean them, and even roast them if you want a nicer flavor and make tea, almost like a coffee-like tea out of them. And that's great for liver health. I've got a link here if you want to check out a recipe I did over a year ago with dandelion roots, and you can see me even roasting them in that video. Then you can also use the leaf in tea form, just like an infusion. You can use it in green juice. You could stir fry it. You could have it on salads if they're not too tough, and that's ideally how you would use the leaves if you were harvesting them right in the spring, which is sort of when they're at their most tender because they're just shooting up. Then also with the, I guess you can eat the stems. There's probably not much going on there nutritionally, but with the flowers, you can actually make dandelion wine. I've never made that before, but you can always look up online if that piques your interest. So virtually all parts of the plant have similar properties in that they're good for the liver health. They help detoxify the liver by improving bile flow. That goes for both the roots and the leaves. The roots have a few more properties that the leaves don't have in its liver protective and rejuvenative effects, but that doesn't mean the leaves aren't worthwhile. They also have the chlorophyll in the leaves, and you have probably more of the vitamins and unique compounds that you would find in green plants that would be found in the leaves. So the leaves also have that effect of detoxifying the blood because of the rich chlorophyll content. If you don't have dandelion in your area, or you want to use it and you just don't have the time to harvest enough of it, you can always check in the links below and go to Mountain Rose Herbs, and I've got a link there for both the dried leaf and the dried root, and you can use that to make teas or tinctures or anything you want to use it for. The overall energy of the herb, whether it's the root or the leaf or even the flower, it's got a cooling energy, so that if you're familiar with herbalism and the way there's sort of herbal energetics which help you, if you have a very cool constitution, you don't want to be taking too many cool things because that's going to further imbalance you from sort of a neutral state, which would be homeostasis. That might not be usable to you unless you actually have the knowledge of how to sort of address that state in yourself, but working with a knowledgeable herbal practitioner is one way to determine if this is something that you want to use continuously for a stretched out period of time. So if you run really hot, dandelion can be a great thing for you. And that doesn't just mean temperature, it means symptoms that can be classified under that symptomology. So very flushed skin, overactive liver, anything that by Chinese medicine standards would be considered a hot state. So with that, check out the links below. Let me know in the comments below what you think of dandelion, leaf or root or any part of the plant if you've ever used it. And with that, take care and embrace life without limits. Regarding my last video about mulberries, this is a really good example of what you'll see if you're coming up to a place where there might be a tree, which is this big one here that produces mulberries. You could be walking along and you start seeing these spots, and then bam, it gets sidewalk or a path that's just going to be covered in the squash berries as they fall and get trampled on. Might be a path, might be some grass. Harder obviously to see in the grass, but yeah, this tree's pretty full of them. They're not as ripe as the other one, interestingly, probably because the other tree's closer to water. You can't really see it as well in this light, but they're mostly red. They're not fully dark and that dark purple color that I'm looking for. I got a few though.